You might want to even open it with the statement, not so much "you're annoying me," but the statement, "I'm annoyed." Well,
Yes.
There's no accusation there. It's a statement of emotional fact, let's say. "I'm annoyed." Okay, well, why? Well, it could be you, and that's the simplest solution for me, except that I have to live with you if you're my wife. So it's not that simple a solution. But in the moment, it would maximize my hedonism to assume it was you. So let's say you're oriented towards something like long-term peace and mutual aid and benefit, right? Till death do us part, in sickness and in health, right? And so you're viewing the relationship over the longest possible period of time. And then you're presuming that the other person is indistinguishable from you in that regard. Because they are. If you're married, it's like the person that you're married to is there with you all the time. There's no separation between you and her. Not if you're really thinking about it, because the quality of your experience is dependent upon one another. And so you make a unit. Well, in my marriage, when Tammy and I got together, we'd known each other for a very long time by that point, but I indicated to her that if we were going to be together, we were going to tell each other the truth. That's a hard thing. It's hard in a sense. It's hard in the short term. That's another one of these indications that the hedonistic orientation is wildly lacking. Like there's nothing the least bit entertaining about solving a serious psychological problem. And I'm oddly constituted for that because I don't like conflict. It really upsets me. And so it's hard for me to delve into underlying problems. But what I like even less is having those problems continue. It's like, no, we're solving this right now. And so what does that mean? Well, it'll eventually mean tears on one person's part or the other. Might mean some screaming. God only knows. People have all sorts of ways of putting up resistances to that kind of inquiry too. You're mean. Well, maybe you are. Leave me alone. I'll stomp out. I don't want to talk about this. Turn red, get angry, accuse you of all sorts of things, and you have to be able to persevere through that. And that also means that you have to have faith in the motives for your inquiry, because maybe you are just being a cruel son of a bitch and you won't let the person alone, going into their past and mucking about, So then the question there is, well, how can you trust yourself? Well, don't lie. That's the bottom line. It's like you want to trust yourself in a difficult negotiation. You better bloody well be sure that your orientation is upward. And how do you be sure of that? You evaluate yourself the same way you evaluate anyone else. If you're in a relationship with someone, they lie to you constantly, you're not going to trust them. It's no different for you. So that's why you have to have an orientation towards the truth. And it has to be a kind of terrified orientation. And that's easy for me because I know what happens to people when they don't solve their proximal relationship problems. They end up in some sort of hell, divorce court hell. That's fun, especially if you have a few kids. You can be miserable for 20 years in divorce court. And so you do want to let go what can be let go. Well, what is that? Things that don't repeat. It's the repetition that's the problem. Well, and people also don't construe their lives very intelligently in this regard because we tend to focus our lives on the exceptional, vacations, for example, or special occasions. It's like, that's foolish. Your life is what you do every day. Mundane things you do every day. That's 95% of your life. You want to get those right. And if there are things that interfere with those, like maybe every time you put your kids to bed, it's miserable. Well, that's not good because you probably only spend 20 minutes of one-on-one time with any given kid on average every day. So if bedtimes are miserable, that's your relationship. Well, that's no good. You've got to fix that. Or maybe, there's unpleasantness when you come home after work or at breakfast or lunch. I don't know. If it repeats, it's a problem. So that's what you're looking for, is repeating patterns of discord.